Now, Ben Franklin was, as I've said, a reluctant revolutionary. He came late to the cause of independence, believing that the king and his colonies should be able to get along. After hearing in London about the Boston Tea Party, Franklin called it an act of violent injustice on our part. Because he was representing Massachusetts where the Tea Party took place, he was insistent that the East India Tea Company should be compensated for their losses. But by the time he returned to Pennsylvania in 1775, he had soured on King George III and Parliament. There was one final incident while he was in London that pushed Franklin over the edge to support independence. And it pushed the leaders in Parliament in opposite direction to crack down on what they saw as a coming rebellion. And that was known as the Hutchinson Affair. Back in 1772 in London, Franklin came into possession of some private correspondence between the then governor of Massachusetts, Thomas Hutchinson, and his lieutenant governor, Andrew Oliver. At that time, Hutchinson was having difficulty enforcing the various tax acts of the British Parliament. He was not well liked in Boston, and his letters clearly indicated that Parliament and Hutchinson did not have much regard for the colonists. In fact, it indicated they planned to crack down even harder. These letters included the belief that the colonists would never have the same rights as British citizens who lived in the home country. Franklin got a hold of these letters, and he sent them back to the attention of Samuel Adams in Boston, with the provision that they only be shown to a small group of leaders in the Patriot movement. Now, somehow those letters were leaked and printed in the Boston Gazette in June of 1773. Then, of course, they circulated throughout the colonies. The content of these letters inflamed the colonists to more political and civil unrest, eventually leading to the Boston Tea Party on December 16, 1773. It took some time, but word got back to England about the letters and Franklin's involvement in their exposure. News of the Boston Tea Party reached London on January 20th, 1774, and Parliament declared the province of Massachusetts to be in rebellion. The British now saw Franklin as a fomenter of revolt rather than a friend of the king. Franklin was summoned before the Privy Council of Parliament, and on January 29, 1774, severely chastised by Lord North and other members of the council. In fact, Franklin was removed from his position as Postmaster General of the colonies. Now, although he continued to represent the colonies, his star had fallen. He was no longer effective in negotiations. His mindset had also changed. He was publicly embarrassed. He now saw that Parliament and the king were not interested in improving relations with the colonies except by force. So Franklin left London in March of 1775 and set sail for Philadelphia.